council meeting to order, and we will start, if you would please, by honoring our nation with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business today will be the election of officers. I will start by saying that it's been a privilege for 2 years to sit in this chair's position, but I think that it's appropriate that it get passed to someone else. So with that being said, I will at this time open up the floor for nominations for the chair's position, please.
Mr. Chairman, I nominate Chad Banks.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second for Chad. Any other nominations, please? I would entertain the motion for nominations to be closed. A second?
Second.
Nominations are closed. Now we will vote. All those in favor of the Chad as our nomination for chair, please respond by raising your right hand. And those opposed, the same. And it passes. Chad abstains, so it passes 6-0. So I will let you conduct the second part of this, and then we'll move.
Sure. So we'll open nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Kim Wheeler. I'll second that.
I have a nomination and a second for Kim Wheeler to be vice chair. Any further discussion? We'll close nominations. And I'll call for a vote. All those in favor of Kim being vice chair, please raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. And the motion passes.
Did not vote.
Kim abstained.
Oh, I guess I could have left this packet. Here. I think they're both the same.
All right, well, good morning. The first item on the agenda this morning is Sheriff Gatton.
Morning, Mark Gatton, Whitley County Sheriff's Department. I'll start with Jason Spencer, who'll be presenting some numbers. Back when Mark Hodges was sheriff, we used to get $90,000 for the cars. They reduced it to $75,000, so I'm going on my sixth year now, going into. The car prices have increased, and we don't even have enough money right now to complete the purchase of the cars, so we're coming to ask for more money. Also going to ask for a little additional for the build.
Chrysler's kind of getting difficult this year. Their orders had to be in by November 1st, just to get a 2020 allotted. Mercedes has built that transmission in that vehicle ever since they've had it. Mercedes is now pulled from Chrysler. They're not going to build that transmission anymore. So the all-wheel drive V8 that everybody loves and across the nation is now coming to an end. So that's why the issue is they're trying to limit the number of 2020 all-wheel drive V8s because they're shutting that line down. It will be no more. So unfortunately, the car that everybody likes is going to go bye-bye. With that, the price, we've actually went up this year. This is the first year that we've actually went over that price. Usually it's about a $25,000 car. This year it's at $26,238 is the price on the cars for this year for Dodge Chargers. So we are just a little bit over the 75, however, with that coming to an end. I know we've been in discussion with some of the other officers and other agents and things like that, some of the commissioners. So we'd like to actually push up for everybody switching over to possibly Durangos in the near future and going to utility. So we're going to get the same, we'll lose top end, but that's not a big deal, but we're going to get the same reliability out of that V8 engine and all-wheel drive, especially in this area where you never know if you're going to get an inch of snow or 4 inches of snow overnight. Ground clearance is going to give us a little bit more. So with that price, it's gonna go up to about 31,000. So if we went up to that 90, back to where we were 12 years ago, we'd be right in the money. We are still gonna be a little bit short anywhere on a build. On a build for a car, we're anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000 on a complete build. Between our builder and us, when we decommission a car, we try and switch everything over. That'll fit as long as the body style doesn't change as far as the console and things. So lights and things like that, if they're operable, we're switching them back over to save that cost. Most lights right now, LEDs are running a 5-year warranty, which is gonna run that last of that year of that car. So that's where we're at on asking for that money to be raised back up in the physical 21. Not 20, so it'll be 21 budget, right?
No, it'd be 20, be this year's budget.
Okay.
And one of the reasons is I've tried to stay on the 3 cars like we've done for years, even though we've added people. I've purchased some cars, and this year, the drug task force that we lease that I've paid for out of commissaries up, so I will be paying for a new DTF vehicle again this year out of that. That way, I'm hoping not to come over and ever have to ask for 4, at least during my term. I hope to continue to be able to buy one every about 3 years or 2 or 3 years out of commissary.
You said $6,000 to $7,000 for a complete build, or?
Well, that's a car that's getting everything brand new in it without switching over the lights and things like that.
Okay,
That's usable. That's
Okay.
still good.
okay.
So if you had a ground car that you had a complete build, that you didn't have anything in, which we will have one this year, because that's a new guy, we have to retain a car instead of switching one out and selling them to auction. We'll have one of those, but 2 of them can be swapped over, decommissioned, and go from there.
So the dollar amount is for 3 cars in the course of the year? The 90,000?
They'll be ordered, well, they've been ordered because we had to order or we've been shut down by Chrysler. They've been ordered, we've been allotted 75,000, that's what it's been every year. We're requesting it to go up to 90 to help cover some of the build. I won't make everything, we'll make up the difference.
But that is the 3
Yeah,
vehicles that
that's
have been
3
ordered.
vehicles at one time ordered.
And
And
are
that-
these, excuse me,
No, go ahead.
are these the Chargers?
For this year, they will.
And then you'll go to Durango after that, theoretically.
Yeah, if it's feasible and possible.
Unless Chrysler somehow alleviates their transmission issue with.
We budgeted 70,000.
75.
Or 75. So we need to make an additional appropriation to get that from 75 to 90. We can't really actually change the budget, can we?
I don't believe you can change the budget.
I'll advertise an additional appropriation for your February meeting, and then we'll take care of that if that's okay. You have to advertise for it first.
Which is fine, because it'll be a few months before they're here and start getting built, so.
The 90,000 includes the changeover for equipment, or is that an addition?
This year, it would help a lot on building the cars, yes. In the future, depending on what they do with their transmission, if they come up with a transmission, they stick with the Chargers, it will still help. If it comes up to 21 where they're not gonna have that available, then it would be tight again as far as the total cost.
And that would come in the 2021 budget
Yes.
process.
Yes.
And your plan this year, Sheriff, is to provide a DTF car out of commissary? Okay, and what are you looking at as far as an expense on that vehicle?
The last one, we did a lease program on it, cost me about $12,000 for a 2-year lease on that vehicle. We're fortunate the place we lease them from, if we would think that vehicle would get compromised or burn or something, we get one free trade-in during that time where they would swap the vehicle out and give us another one in that 2-year lease program.
Sounds like a good plan, good deal. How much funds do you have available right now in your commissary? Where's that fund at?
It's over $100,000 right now in commissary fund.
Some other projects that you got scheduled for that commissary fund this year that,
We're looking at purchasing our own wrestling mat and system for downstairs to teach our own DTs within the building. Hoping to do some upgrades in firearms category, possibly our rifles. The company we have our rifles with is no longer in business, which may not be a big problem talking to Billy, because I guess apparently a lot of AR-15 parts will all interchange with each other. Trying to think what We're switching over uniform taser upgrades and possibly a radio HTs. Possibly a different brand of HTs coming in.
So the request is for 15,000 additional.
Yes, sir.
It sounds like that would need to be advertised before we could even call for a vote on that, so.
I just do have one more question. You and I discussed the design of the car that impacted the fire. Have you guys communicated, or anybody communicate anything to Chrysler about this issue?
Our builder has.
Okay.
Past, but I don't know if that's falling on deaf ears, or if they don't think there's a problem, if there's not enough data there for them to actually say that there is a problem.
And is there a fix that the builder could put in as a protective
Not
piece?
that runs, because it's engineered in the body mold. It's
Okay.
That way, that channel.
It's in the frame, and then the other thing is if we would ask him to or something, then they find out later, it could void the warranty on the
So you
vehicle.
modified the car? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Thank you. The new dispatch position.
Okay. I know you're probably all wondering why we're coming right after the budget time. Well, for the last 2 years, I've requested an additional dispatcher, and we all had it was kind of hanging out there that they were looking into a combined communication center. Well, that got set aside, squashed for now, whatever you want to call it, towards the end of last year. So that's why we're back today. Janelle's wrote quite a few stats here, but I know you guys all remember prosecutors been over about the caseload increase. DCS picked people up. South Whitley's added an officer. Busco's added an officer. Probation added a field officer that calls in to us. With the new pretrial program, just the court load itself, what we're coming before you today is to ask for an additional dispatcher of the salary of $45,035 plus the benefit package. I'll turn it over to Janelle now for any questions.
I just wanted to update a couple of things on the paper that I sent over. I obviously typed it up before year end, so I wanted to give. Instead of 5 pre-trial services warrants, we're up to 6. We had 7 total warrants in December that we entered, and then the pretrial services started October 1st. So from October 1st to the end of the year, we did over warrants. I was asked yesterday about warrants. When we get a warrant over, we enter that into our Spillman CAD system, and then we also have to enter it into the national computer, so that if somebody in Wyoming stops a car and the person has a warrant out of Whitley County, we'll extradite, they're aware that they have a warrant out of Whitley County. And so it's a lot of paperwork to enter a warrant. It takes a lot of time, especially if we're busy, it takes even longer.
And one of my concerns right now is we have 4 stations that dispatchers can sit at. We normally have 2, sometimes we have 3. But when we only have 2, those 2 people, the only breaks they get is to run out and go to the bathroom real quick. They don't get to leave the dispatch center other than for bathroom breaks, because they're not allowed to take a lunch break because we can't leave one person in the center by themselves at a time. That's one of the concerns, that they're not getting their lunch breaks.
Which adds up to a lot of overtime money spent on lunch breaks, which I also put in the paper I typed up.
The additional person float, they work
Yes.
different schedule, different
Yeah.
shifts.
My hope is to have 3 people on second shift all the time, with the exception of vacations. Second shift is our busiest shift. It has the most officers, people getting off and noticing that their house was broken into, different kinds of calls. Shift, I would like to have 3 people there all the time.
You have to be able to cover all these PTO times too, I think.
Yeah, that would help a lot, an extra person.
That's a lot of hours.
Yeah.
And Janelle does a lot. she covers a lot of PTO and pulls herself out of her office and works the councils a lot. We normally don't like her to, because it seems like when she works the council, everything goes awry in the county, so.
Like yesterday.
Well, if I read this right, there's one person for more than a year of PTO out there,
Yes.
because it's what, 250-day work week
Yeah, that's
approximately.
one person.
Don, is commissioners,
Yes, sir. The commissioners would like to give a favorable pass to the council for the dispatch position.
That would come out of general or 911, which,
I can pay for it out of 911. I ran figures and leaving us money set aside in case something breaks. Right now, I could do about 6 years out of 911.
Granted, the state doesn't change
Right.
the amount that we get
Yeah.
yearly from it.
It could come out
So
of
the only-
police tax too, I think. Will be passed if we haven't already spent it all.
No, I don't think so.
So the salary could come out of 911, what about the benefit package? Would that come out of general? I guess I would like to see it maybe go that direction, and then if you do get in a spot to where you have some repairs that need to be made, you can come back and we can take that out of county general too.
What's the cost for a benefit package associated with one employee?
It varies. But I honestly don't know it off the top of my head.
Okay.
It's probably close
I
to
can get you.
slightly less than double. It's probably in the 80 to 85 range total.
For salary and benefits?
Yeah.
so we're looking
And
at
Social
the
Security.
primary salary of the position out of 911 and the benefits out of general, and that's what we're looking at.
Just a point of clarification, because I know that HR had put a memo out on this. When you say the requested starting salary of 45,035, is that taking
Not
into
starting, that would be the top.
the top, so we'll still use that tiered?
Yeah, that starting mid and.
Yeah.
then the- yeah.
And is this something that needs public notice?
Yeah, if that's, since I didn't know where we were gonna pay the salary out of, can I do the additional for February as well and do a salary ordinance amendment? We'll take care of that in February.
Sounds great.
Any further questions?
I'm curious on, how do your fire dispatches, how many percentage of that is assistant EMS?
The majority of them. We do a lot of medical assist. Here recently, our accidents and fires.
That part I understand.
Obviously, in the wintertime, the car accidents go up.
I thought you were going to ask him your veteran-friendly hiring practice question.
We should be, as a county agency, be friendly, veteran-friendly in our hiring process.
Have fun in Florida.
Thank you, Sheriff Gatton. Next up is DJ Sigler.
Double whammy.
I know, I'm sorry.
Good morning. I brought my boss with me today. We all work for Paul on occasion. Thank you for providing me the opportunity to speak to you today. Today, I'm here to ask for your approval to allocate some monies that are federal incentive monies. As many of you may know, we have been successful throughout the years, long before my tenure, of collecting child support, back child support in this county. We've been one of the, for a county of our size, we've been one of the preeminent practitioners of that and have been extraordinarily successful throughout the years. We continue to be successful. One of the things that comes with that success is some reimbursement from the federal government. We receive incentive funds, federal monies, for our success. And we have struggled in the past with how to best allocate that money internally for furthering our child support collection. One of the things that we've identified, and one of the things we've asked the state of Indiana for permission, and one of the things the state of Indiana asked the federal government for permission, was to allocate these funds that we receive back into the community, and in this particular case, in conjunction with community corrections, to allocate those funds to allow community corrections, fund community corrections to the tune of about $7,200, I believe, to provide job search services and job training services to folks who have fallen behind. Practically speaking, what this means is when I'm sitting in the courtroom as a prosecutor and I've got somebody that hasn't paid their child support, and they say, well, gee whiz, Judge, and gee whiz, Mr. Sigler, I'd love to, but I just don't have a job. Now, one of the things that I can say is, well, we have a solution for you. And we can refer that person to community corrections for certain job skills training and to assist in the location of the job. So this is putting people to work, which to my way of thinking, and I hope everybody's way of thinking, is one of the first barriers to recidivism and to keeping them out of a jail cell and not making them the sheriff's problem. So we're excited about that. As I said, we've had the necessary approvals both from the state of Indiana to reallocate that $7,200. We've had the necessary approvals from the federal government. We've entered into a memorandum of understanding with community corrections to use this money for that purpose. And most significantly, I think, for your purposes, is that this is not money that's coming out of the county general fund. This is money that has been allocated to us, again, by the federal government. So we're excited about this program. We think it represents an excellent opportunity for the community, and I'm excited that Paul is going to have control of it because I know it'll be done right. So if you have any specific questions about the program itself and how it's going to operate, that would be for Paul. But if there's questions about the funding, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you.
I guess I'm not clear on why we need to do an additional appropriation request with this money.
Because I think the bottom line is it has to be, my understanding, and it's imperfect admittedly, is that these incentive monies can't be moved or utilized without the approval of the local governing body. So in order for me to access the funds, both the feds and the state require the approval of this body.
So
I think I got that right, didn't I, Jen?
Will those funds then come into county general and
Yeah.
will we redistribute them, or they'll come to you, or they'll come directly to Paula?
They are their own separate standalone account because they are federal funds. They don't move into and through county general. It doesn't affect the budget as allocated, but it will affect mine to the extent that you'll see a $7,200 increase in what I had asked for. So that's the basic premise.
We've used that for various things in the past, too.
We've used it, yeah, we have used these. They're loosening the strings a little bit, which is a good thing from my perspective. We've used it for equipment. We're hopeful someday to use it for personnel. We're not there yet. If we needed to add, for example, a clerical staff person down there, that might be in the future something we're able to do. We're not there yet, but I'm hopeful to get there.
And what we've decided is that we would just bill for services quarterly, so we don't create claims for the auditor every month on this. So we'll track whether they just participate in the classes or they required participate in the classes and the retention, just do the follow-up. We're going to monitor their job search. They're going to have to turn in regular forms to us, and we're going to do random calls to make sure they actually did appear on site and apply for the jobs that they have listed on their forms. And then we want to track retention. Obviously, we know that's a big problem is they secure employment while they're under court supervision, and as soon as they're released, they quit. So that doesn't serve any purpose. So we want to really encourage them to retain that employment and secure employment that they can support their family, and hopefully partner with this new adult vocational training center, identify individuals who want to secure some type of certification and get them enrolled in that program when it opens.
The other thing I think it does is it gives us a mechanism by which to track, a metric by which we can track success, right? You know, we see so many people go through the system, how many are actually seeking work, how many are retaining work, how many are applying, where are they applying, what kind of jobs are out there? Are we talking about fast food, or are we talking about training people to do something that maybe might provide a stable, long-term job for themselves? So I think it's a great opportunity for us. We're excited about it.
And Paul, you have all the mechanisms in place now to support this
Yes.
process?
Yes, we do.
I would make a motion that we approve the request.
I'll second the motion.
I have a motion and a second to approve the additional appropriation request. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. The motion passes 7-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda is Laurell.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Laurell Schroeder, and I'm the Whitley County Treasurer. I'm here today asking for an additional part-time person for 20 hours per week. For those of you who don't know, the Treasurer's office was a two-person office when I became Treasurer 7 years ago. A two-person office presents unique problems all its own. Providing quality customer service while your coworker is on lunch hour or even on a week's vacation can be more than challenging. Or taking care of a sudden burst of phone calls or walk-in leaves everyone frustrated. And then there's the scheduling hassle. Which one, because only one of us, gets to take off during Christmas or spring break? And no one is taking off during tax collection months of April, May, October, and November. In the last 7 years, I have missed out on family vacations, had to reschedule surgeries, have been late to many family functions, all because of coverage issues within my office. Then that brings up the unexpected illnesses or accidents. My chief deputy fell from a 2-story balcony and broke her pelvis in 6 places in 2018. I was told that she wouldn't return to work for 3 months. After working every day for the next 3 weeks with no lunch or any breaks, my husband was told that he would undergo surgery for removal of a tumor that was possible cancer. One of the seasonal part-time ladies that works during collection times offered to work so that I could go be with my husband for his surgery. The day after, when I should have been taking care of my spouse, I was again working with no lunch or breaks and doing my job and my chief deputy's for the previous day and that day also. Matter of fact, I worked every day until I completed my job and my chief deputy's job. It made me wonder at the time what would have happened in the treasurer's office if I would have had an accident at the same time or an emergency illness. Nobody would have been able to perform my duties at that time. Payroll would not have been issued, checks wouldn't have been issued, settlement wouldn't have been distributed on time, and that is when we added a part-time person to work 12 hours a week. When the incident happened with our previous auditor, State Board of Accounts came out with a new statewide directive called internal controls. It basically means that there will be 2 people to handle money at all times and 2 people to open mail every day. My chief deputy has 9 weeks of PTO time that will be taken this year. And I have scheduled a surgery that requires 6 weeks off. Excuse me. There are continuing education classes that my chief deputy and I also are required to attend. So as you can see, we have a coverage problem in the treasurer's office. By putting off this request for 7 years, I honestly believe I have saved the county thousands of dollars. We have part-time seasonal ladies that come in for a month before collection. They do an excellent job of collecting money, and at their ages, they have no desire to learn other aspects of the office, nor do they have any desire to work additional hours. I'm asking for an additional part-time person for 20 hours a week. I would need an additional $13,500 to cover her wages this year. Can I answer any questions?
Laurell, are you looking for a position to cover your high demand times, or are you looking for something for every week? Or
I'm
just looking for
something
something?
for every week. That person would help out during the collection period, so it would relieve some of the hours that the seasonal part-time ladies are working. But basically, I need help with coverage. We,
So it could be more or less than 20 hours a week, depending on the
it
time.
could be. Like when someone is on vacation, we might need them 30 hours that week, and then the next week they could work 10 hours to make up their total of 20
Is that
hours.
any problem in how you payroll?
Laurell, do you still have the 12-hour person that was
I do.
referred to?
Mhm.
So this would be not just an additional hours, but a separate person?
It would be a separate person, yes.
What type of schedule is that person working now that works the 12 hours per week?
She works a day and a half, or sometimes she works 3-4 hour days. Kind of depends on our needs.
And you don't think you can eliminate one of the other part-time ladies that just come in like in April and May and October, November?
I think it would decrease their hours overall. But
Not eliminate one.
not eliminate one. And that isn't it, you know. They're here 8 hours one week, 16 hours the next, 24 the next, and then they're there the whole week. So it would not be a bad thing to add 20 hours to the collection week on someone else, because the phones are just out of control. And I'll tell you that the state has mandated what the coupons are going to look like this year, the tax bills. And the calls are going to be unending.
Because they changed them all around, they look completely different.
Because they've
Okay.
changed them completely around, and people aren't going to understand them, and the calls are just, so we are going to need help this year, additional help with just calls alone.
Is your anticipation that this would be an annual person?
Yes. Yes, I should have asked for this 7 years ago.
Yeah, you should have, really, because it's unfair to you to pick up those hours.
Yes. Yes, I should have asked it, yes. It's needed.
Well, you say you got a part-time person up there now?
Yes,
Would one of them want to be full-time?
no.
You think it'd be better to have a full-time than so many part-times? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I'm just thinking if there was one that was interested in becoming full-time, it would be,
Okay.
you would know it would be there all the time.
Yeah. No, and I think part-time would save the county money in benefits. Benefits aren't cheap. But at this time, I think the 2 part-time ladies can pick up where one can't, and
So you would never have them working both at the same time, though?
not that I foresee. Unless Kay and I are both
At a
gone to
conference
training,
or something.
conferences,
Nope.
then that would be a possibility.
Would this part-time person fall into the county part-time pay category, or are there special training and requirement that would put her out of the norms?
Just regular pay.
Okay.
Understand.
This was not something that you saw coming during budget cycle
didn't realize that my chief deputy had that much time coming. And of course, I didn't know about the unscheduled surgery. You know, I didn't know that I was going to be gone.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
So I have a motion to approve the request for a part-time person in the treasurer's office. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I guess the way I look at it is if she's willing to have 2 part-time employees instead of going to another full-time employee, it's still going to save the county money, a lot of money, over benefit package. So I thank you for going that avenue with 2 part-time instead of a full-time because of the benefit package. So,
Just another question for clarification. Is this something that needed to be advertised?
Well, it'll need an additional appropriation.
So,
Do that.
so we can authorize the position and then do an additional appropriation next month? Thank you.
And I guess my question is, the funding is coming from county general?
Yes.
And how does our county general look at this point, moving forward for
Good.
2020? Pretty healthy still?
Yes.
Yeah.
My only question is to Laurell, will this get you, are you satisfied that you're gonna get your meal times and that sort of thing done?
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
it's hardly unfair that you haven't, but you're
No,
satisfied it will.
I'm only the treasurer this year, and then
understand.
so the next treasurer that comes in may look at it totally different. I have no idea. But I think for this year, I think that this will get us through this year.
Yeah.
Okay, I do have a motion and a second. I'll go ahead and call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And the motion passes 7-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next up on the agenda is Kim Erdly. With some of these things that we're doing, like these. Like these are taken into account.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that what you said?
In addition to Kim Erdly, Whitley County Assessor, in addition to what I have handed out in your packets with some information as far as how it pertains to the budget process versus the assessment process that we go through every year, I do have something that I just handed out that I would like to read aloud. And going forward, I think it's a very high possibility that in the future, the assessor's office is probably going to have a need for a part-time person as well with our additional responsibilities. Since we've started our cyclical reassessment back in 2014, since we're on our continual cycle now with reassessment, doing 25% of the county a year during that 4-year cycle, and then at the end of that 4-year cycle, we just start all over versus the 10-year cycle that we used to be on prior to 2014. The demands that's been put upon the assessor's office has been pretty significant with that. Our building permits increase annually as well, increasing workload. There again, in the next few years, the 2 deputies that the assessor's office does have, if they continue with their employment with Whitley County, that is, their PTO time is going to increase as well, causing additional coverage that usually the assessor is the one that ends up absorbing. And I'll read what I just handed out to you. Every January 1, we roll a new year of assessment. which is the beginning to the entire budget process, making the county assessor's office the root of that process. The criteria and information being provided to the Whitley County Council entails deadlines the assessor's office is mandated to meet in the state of Indiana that are of vital importance to assure the county will be able to use current net assessed values to establish our budget and assure a timely tax collection. Not only is a timely tax collection vital to county government and departments that exist within, timely tax collection is also very vital for all the outside entities in the county who rely upon the collection of our tax dollars. I have provided each member of the Whitley County Council a binder. In the beginning of each binder, you will find a calendar with the statutory deadlines mandated upon a county assessor's office through the budget process, along with the IC codes that pertain to each area in the material I'm providing to you today. I have also provided additional detailed material from the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance that is of great importance. The details of this material gives definition as to the part each of these areas have in the budget process as it pertains to what a county assessor is responsible for. I have prepared and provided you with a January update. This is everything the assessor's office starts off with at the beginning of the year, as well as some of the criteria we will be dealing with in January going forward to February. I plan to follow the 2020 budget calendar and present to the Whitley County Council monthly updates. I will be providing some of the criteria and material that goes into our details of our data submissions we are required to submit to the Indiana Department of Local Government Finance and Legislative Services by the dates provided. My plan is to clarify and describe the role a county assessor has in the assessment to budget process, along with additional duties and responsibilities. A county assessor in the state of Indiana does not have a so-called job description that can be produced. A county assessor does not have the availability of being able to handwrite their own job description as far as duties and responsibilities. A county assessor's duties and responsibilities are mandated to them by the state of Indiana, all which I will be providing. I feel it is my responsibility as the elected county assessor in Whitley County to bring forward in full detail to our county council what a county assessor is responsible for and the significance of importance that can come with this responsibility. My hope is to provide a better understanding to the responsibilities I took my oath of office to uphold. By the time we have rolled and balanced our assessed values for real and personal property, timely with the auditor at the beginning of July, I will have provided a complete and concrete portfolio of what a county assessor is responsible for and to, in lieu of an actual job description as it compares to other department heads and directors within the county. I will be more than willing to accommodate any schedule and speak with any member of our county council in person, on the phone, or correspond by email. I would be more than glad to answer any questions or concerns to help put a better understanding and clarification to anything I will be providing you regarding what a county assessor is responsible for and what a county assessor's office does. During the next 7 months, the Whitley County Assessor's Office, with a staff of just 3 full-time employees, will strive to meet and exceed these very strict and critical deadlines in the short amount of time we are mandated to meet them. I would also like to encourage any member of our council to please come and visit the Assessor's Office at any time and talk with not only myself, but Jamie Hatton, our Chief Deputy, and Tammy Rumsire, our Deputy Assessor, about what they do. We would welcome a visit or job shadowing at any time, and I want to thank you for your time. In your packets that I provided, there's some information in here as far as everything going forward when our education starts all over with our continuing ed requirements that are mandated so that we have to maintain, obviously, the levels of certification that we're required to have in the assessor's office. We start off again with our cyclical reassessment. We have to provide monthly updates to the Department of Local Government Finance with our monthly status reports for our cyclical reassessment. And there again, you're required to, every month, you have to be within and meet their guidelines as far as the process and where we have to be with our reassessment to make sure we get it complete by December 31st. We were 100% complete with our 2020 reassessment at the beginning of December this year. The requirement is December 31st, so we completed that reassessment deadline. We're in the process right now of getting ready to certify our mobile home values. We have currently 679 mobile home, personal property mobile homes in Whitley County. We'll be posting those values on that to get values rolled to the auditor and then send out our notice of assessments, just like with real property. Personal property mobile homes, we're required to mail a notice of assessment or a Form 11 on those as well, which opens up a 45-day window on our mobile homes, which we don't rarely get appeals on a mobile home like we do with real estate. Business tangible personal property, which is where every one of our businesses and our farmers who have equipment that they use for production of their business, they're required to come in and file. We currently have 2,244 personal property records to maintain. We will also be sending, we are required this year, mandated, we've always given a courtesy reminder that it's time to come in and file for business personal property. This year, that's been state mandated upon us that we have to mail those notices out to every one of our businesses and farmers that it's time to come in and file. We'll be getting ready to send those out, and they'll have until May 15th to come in and file. That'll be the statutory deadline for that. So we'll be putting that in motion here in the next couple weeks as well. Sales disclosure data submission. We are required by February 1st to submit all of our sales for 2019. We currently have 973 sales that took place in the county for every transfer that took place with the sales disclosure attached to it. We will also be submitting 990 sales for our ratio study that we're going to be working on here real soon. It has to be approved by the DLGF by March 1st. That is extremely important to our budget process, our ratio study, which is a lot of juggling back and forth values. We'll be looking at values between myself and Accurate Assessments, who is contracted to help with our ratio study along with our reassessment and our trending. Once we get those sales dialed in, the valid sales that we're going to be using in our ratio study for the submission of that ratio study to the DLGF by March 1st, we'll then be establishing our neighborhood factors. The neighborhood factors, the new neighborhood factors will be determined from that ratio study submission to establish then our new values that we'll be using going forward, that we'll be certifying for next year.
Pardon me, Kim, DLGF means?
Department of Local Government Finance.
Thank you.
Yeah, let's have it, sorry. So in determining those neighborhood factors then, you know, and there again, my plan is to come to you as we move along through this process. We have to have that ratio study approved by March 1 before we can mail our Form 11s or our notice of assessments. As I stated in some of the material that I gave you, if we do not mail, last year it was mandated upon us, they changed the date for mailing notice of assessments to April 30th. Had we not mailed the notice of assessments by April 30th, the new state IC code said that we would have had to have allowed taxpayers until the following June 15th to appeal their assessed values, which meant that any appeals that would have came through at that time, giving them a whole nother year beyond the time that we need to be able to put the budget process in motion, we would not have had those appeals settled. So we do not want to give taxpayers a whole nother year to approve their value, or to appeal their values. And I've explained some of that, the importance of that there. So that's what the assessor's office is going to be working on in January going forward. I'll open it up at this time if anybody has any questions for me.
So Kim, is there any real changes, going into 2020, or the 2020, as far as your duties and stuff that you do?
For me?
Yes.
You know, it's been a long time, I feel, if ever, maybe, I don't know, that an assessor has ever come forward with any kind of duties or responsibilities for them. The real change I feel that has never really been brought to light was obviously our cyclical reassessment. You know, you figure that was back in 2014, pay 15, but I mean, the added responsibility that comes with that is continual. And the Department of Local Government and Finance legislative changes, we never know what's going to come down the pipe to us and what they could be changing for us. It might come in January, it might come in July. So as far as that goes, the overall increase that we see here that I think Whitley County, all of us are experiencing right now with planning and building, engineering, the auditor's office, then to the treasurer's office, recorder's office. We've had a number of splits. We've had a good number of plats. We've had a good number, an increase in building permits. That in turn, that creates an additional workload to all of our offices, not just to the assessor's office. We've got an awful lot of growth taking place here right now, which is a very good thing. But you start to feel that impact and what it creates as far as workload goes.
Well, I guess my concern is, Kim, it seems odd that all of a sudden, everybody's coming in for more help. Where would you at budget time?
I'm not asking for more help right now.
I know, but it's going to be coming down the pike.
But I think it's an awful strong reality that we need to be looking at, because you've got offices where I feel the department heads have absorbed that. They've not come forward and asked for additional help. My plan will more than likely be that with our reassessment being the main focus within the assessor's office would be that, it would probably more than likely have to come from the reassessment fund, because that fund has stipulation put on it as to what it can be used for. And right now, Tammy's, the deputy that we have, she is paid 100% out of the reassessment fund. But I would anticipate that any part-time person, their needs would be focused on reassessment as well, and that I feel that more than likely that money would probably have to come out of that reassessment budget.
Part of your salary comes from.
Half of my salary is, paid from the reassessment fund.
I appreciate that, what you outline of what you do, because we have no way of knowing unless you tell us, not the same in the other office. But
The DLGF helped me, the Department of Local Government Finance. Like I said, everything that we do, and it usually starts in November and December when we start getting our memos that come down from the DLGF, in preparation for the year coming up once January 1 gets here. And everything is real solid in the memos that we get and what's mandated upon us. And every bit that I put in your binders, that to what is mandated upon us and all those changes.
So with the exception of the first few pages of explanation, the rest of this is state law?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. We do have new this year. The longest papers that are in there that are the legal size, that is something that's new this year in reference to your question, Kim. In the past, when we correspond with the DLGF on our ratio study submission, and it's a lot of back and forth, it's always been, they'll assign a field rep there that will pick up your ratio study when it's submitted to them initially. And usually they're pretty good about that one field rep working with your ratio study to kind of follow it through, but every now and then, and you have to follow their criteria and their format, and the way that ratio study has to be submitted is very strict and you have to do it. And if one thing is out of place, it gets kicked back to you, and then you have to fix it before you can submit it, and then that usually puts you back in a queue to start all over with the submission. And mind you, by the time we work on it, starting January 1, we get everything all dialed in for submission. That March 1st date is real key to getting that approval, hopefully by that March 1st date. It's always been done by email correspondence. And now we've gone to what they call Microsoft Teams. And it's kind of set up to where it's a totally different application that we have now. We had to go through training for it this year, to where basically our ratio study, we can edit it live now, rather than them kicking it back to me and then me having to look over it, submit it to Accurate Assessments, have them make changes, email it back to me, and then then it has to be submitted from the county assessor. What we can do is now with the Microsoft Teams is we can upload the files to where the DLGF can see them, the field rep there can see it. Everything we do will be live so that we're not, it's supposed to help and streamline the submission process and everything, so that hopefully it will help get us approval much faster with the demands that they put on us for mailing those notices out. So we're kind of excited about that. But it was training that we had to go through for that.
There's one thing we need to really remember. We all like these healthy balances in county general and other things, but it all starts, those balances start at the assessor's office.
That's where our income comes from.
That's exactly right. And if they didn't do a good job, then our balances wouldn't be what they are today.
Well, it's kind of like Laurell said in speaking to you, you know, and I am 100% in agreement to saving the county money. I will do what is mandated upon me. I will absorb what I can, but just like this morning, I was on the agenda. I have one that has a sick little girl at home right now. If the other one, something would have come up with her, or, you know, she needs to be home for whatever reason, trouble with vehicle, you never know, then now we're down to one. So our three can become one in very, very fastly, and unexpected things happen, you just never know. I would like to be able to plug away with just the three of us as long as we can. But when their additional PTO time kicks in, you know, that is going to create a lot more. Even right now, through this very critical time of the year, from January 1 to July, with our most busiest and our peak season that lasts that entire time, the majority of their PTO time that they have to take, I can't put mandates on them and tell them that they can't have PTO time from July or from January to July. You know, they've got to be able to use their time with their families or for whatever reasons they see fit. So there's a lot of, and then throw in continuing ed requirements, there's a lot of time out of the office during that very critical time that is just put up to the department head, so.
Well, we appreciate this information.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Next item on the agenda, Chief Deputy Salaries. Is that you?
Well, so after speaking with Kim, Rosemary, and Laurell, we just needed some clarification for the chief deputy salaries, because on the list report, it does say that we're going to make 85% of the elected official salaries. So I just, after discussing it, I just need some direction on, are we doing the 85%, are we not doing the 85%? Obviously, they get the $1,200, and then I gave you the 85% is alone, the $1,200 is alone. And then I'm sorry, I missed the clerk, so I added her to mine. But and then, oops, sorry. And then obviously the sheriff, the chief deputy on the list report also states that he's separate and he's his own. He's not included in this. He's his own category, so that's why I did not include him.
Those your 85% columns include the 1,200 already added into that?
I do not believe so. It's been a while since I looked at this, so I think it's just.
So what you're asking for is clarification on what we decided for the salary ordinance, on
Yeah,
Chief
like
Deputy salaries.
Right, what am I supposed to do for it? Because I think I just did the 1,200 for them.
I guess my question still is though, on the, when you say 85% of the treasurer's salary at 43, we'll just take the top one there. That is 43,022. Does that include the 1,200 COLA for that elected official's position?
Yes.
It probably wouldn't, right? Because
Right.
then this is plus the $1,200 for COLA.
So yeah, so the 50,615 is the 2020 elected official's salary for the treasurer's office. So 85% of her salary is $43,022. And then I took the 2019 salary for the chief deputy and then added just the 1,200, and that's what you would get for that. Okay, so that would actually be 44,090. My Excel spreadsheet. So yeah, this is the 43,890 is her 20 salary, and then the 1,200 plus the $1,200. Percent plus the 1,200, it's the 44,222.75.
So the question is, for clarification, how do we want to move forward with salaries for chief deputies? So the WIS, Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy recommended 85% of the department head or the elected officials' salary would be the chief deputies. So then when we added in the 1,200 cost of living, I guess the question here is, are we doing 85% plus the 1,200 to determine the 2020 salary for those chief deputies? Does that make sense?
How would that affect the final ratio of 85% once you did that?
That's my question as well, like, then you're not.
The 1,200 is a one-time thing.
Right. But when you get down, I think what Phil is asking, is the 44,222.75 still 85% of the treasurer's salary?
Close to 1,200.
It's 85% plus the 1,200 for the 2020 elected official salary. So what I did was I took the 50,615, multiplied it by 85%, took that, added the 1,200. That's what I did for all.
But if you started with the elected official's salary and added 1,200 to that, and then did your calculations, and that would skew that, is that the way you did it, or did you start the 85% based off of what their base pay was before, for the new year, before the COLA?
I added the 1,200.
So to figure the 85% off the elected official's salary, you did not already add the 1,200 to that number. That was figured before the 1,200.
Okay, sorry, yes, that is added.
So wouldn't we need to figure that beforehand if we're going to add the 1,200 on the back end?
Yeah, the 50,615 is already the $1,200 added in for the elected official.
So a straight 85% would be 85% of that number, because the 1,200 has been added in.
Yeah.
Right, and then yes.
So
And
then
then
we
I
can't
took-
add it back in again.
Well, no, I took the 5615, multiplied it by the 85%. I didn't do it twice. I was showing you what 85% alone is. I was showing you what $1,200 alone is.
Okay.
And then I was showing you both of them together.
The $1,200 becomes a part of the salary of the elected officer. Then you take 85% of that number, to me, that's what the deputy should be.
Plus the 1,200.
Because the 1,200's already in it.
So if we stayed purely at 85%, the chief deputies wouldn't get the full 1,200 that we promised everybody else, everybody.
Is there somebody you're asking to
Well, I
chime in?
didn't know if Kim wanted, yeah, because, try.
I don't, can you, I mean, you don't want to rescind what you've already done, though, as far as the $1,200 across the board that's been given to everybody, including the chief deputy.
Yeah, Kim, that's right. I don't think anyone here wants to
No.
rescind what we did.
No.
I think we're just asking for clarification. Are we supposed to
Yeah.
use that 85%, or is it just the 1,200? Because that's what,
Right, but then you have a few offices, I don't know, at least the treasurer and recorder, and I don't know which other ones are included in that. I know we're not affected by that, but as far as you have a couple offices then, where because of what's been done over the course of the last few years with the across the board, when the 85% was removed back in 2017, now you've got compression there between the chief deputy and the elected official's salary where they don't come back to that 85%. So I think now then you're going to have an issue where what do you do with those elected officials' salaries? I mean, can it be given in the form of a stipend to where it makes it uniform in what you're doing for those offices with the 85%? I mean,
for ours for this year would have to be next year. I can ask, but I think ours are set at this point. So yes, it would close the gap, but it would give our chief what they.
and just so I understand then, it's the elected officials' 2019 salary, because I know you and I talked last night. The elected officials' 2019 salary plus the 1,200 times 85%, and then add the 1,200 onto the chief deputy's salaries from there, correct?
Yeah,
Is
because
that-
we haven't added their 1,200 to their salary.
Right, yes. That if it is to be the 85%, that is.
So for this year, that would compress that 85% to actually
80,
90,
75, or,
or so-
yeah.
just to throw a number, 87% or something like that.
I haven't ran those.
Not the specifics of the numbers, but just, we would not be maintaining 85, we'd be closer than that. And just to clarify, Kim, I think I heard you say that those were the 2019 elected official salaries. Is
Well,
that
you would be
2019 or
adding-
2020?
The elected officials' salaries did not change, so you're adding the
Plus the
$1,200
$1,200,
across the
okay.
board.
And it would be more like 87, 85.
Where do we stand right now?
And what did we actually put in the budget?
Okay, so, which they're all under, but I think I just advertised. So I would have to adjust it for the 85% if you approve that as well.
Is it just the recorder and the treasurer's office salaries, Jana, that were really impacted by that?
I think so, I think those were the two.
And as far as stipend, asking about a stipend, you said, who would you have to ask about that?
I would have to ask the State Board of Accounts.
Okay, I wasn't sure.
Yeah. Looking for the chief deputy.
So if we do the 85% plus the $1,200, that could be a significant adjustment.
It's not gonna be,
It's approximately $300 or less per person for the 5 positions.
For the treasurer and the recorder, it would mean a difference of $1,021 if we did a truly 85%. which was, as I understand, voted on and passed, that the 85% rule would take place.
I come up with 1,020. What'd you say, 1,000?
1,021. My calculator looked round, so it could be 1,020.
I guess my thought on it, personally, I feel strongly still that we follow the recommendations of Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy with the 85%. And then in addition to that, we did, in 2019, we did say that each employee would receive that cost of living increase. So I think, personally, my opinion is that we stand true to what we said we would do.
I'll make a motion to the same as what you just stated.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? So I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And it passes.
I'll get those advertised again too, and I'll get you guys everything you need for next month.
Okay. Okay, next item on the agenda is amendments to the salary ordinance for accounts. So I did see that, is there a public hearing for this?
No, okay, so, what happened is, we would like all of the job description titles that was gave us in the report to match what's in our financial system. They did not all match because they renamed some of them. So Tiffany and I went through and renamed the accounts that were different from the salary ordinance from what we adopted. I talked to Lois from State Board of Accounts upstairs. I said, do we need to do a whole new ordinance? She said, no, just have council approve the amendments to change the names, to make sure they match the job descriptions, and put the amendment with the salary ordinance when we come and audit them. So this is honestly just correcting names of accounts that we use for each person's position.
So it's just nomenclature.
Yep, it's just.
And that's what
cleaning
this
up.
is.
And that's what she said needed to be approved by you guys to put with the salary ordinance.
Was there many, Roland?
There was quite a few, yeah.
I mean, just going down the line, like I see, the old title was elected official, we're changing that title to clerk.
Yep.
And instead of chief deputy, we're changing it to deputy clerk.
Correct.
And this list is just those that are being changed, correct?
Yeah, it's just a name change. It's to match what WIS gave us and to match the report, so we match job descriptions. So when someone looks at something, they don't have to guess which position it is, they'll just know if they look at our reports.
I make a motion to adopt the amendment to the salary ordinance pertaining to account titles.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of amending the salary ordinance, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And you're up again. Additional appropriations for cost of living increase.
So you all received the additional appropriations for all the different funds for the $1,200 cost of living increase because we adopted the budget without that. We did that after it was adopted. So these are all the funds, there's county general, E911, public safety, highway supplemental, I believe that's it. I do have a community corrections one in there, but if Paula maybe wants to, because of hers being a grant, I'll let her elaborate.
Sure.
But, because of hers being a grant, I don't think you're able to fund the increases.
Right,
Out
and
of
I think
your.
I sent it before, and since on our board that, I know you approved it, but when I ran the numbers, that's over almost $100,000 for just our department. We don't have that money, so I didn't know when you approved the budget, if you projected how that included our department, or if you expected me to try to find an additional $100,000.
Well, the prosecutor just gave you 7,000.
I know.
Would like that,
yeah. I would like to too. Obviously, we're gonna continue to work hard to collect fees and secure grants, but, you know, right now, I don't have $99,000. additional $99,000. So I didn't know when you ran your numbers, were you looking at countywide and you were considering community corrections as part of county government? You know, I think we've been fortunate for 30 years to fund our own toilet paper and paper towel and all our benefits, but it's run out. You have people there that have worked there for 30 years and a lot of PTO. I'm thankful that we were able to do that for so long and we're going to, like I said, we're going to continue to look for grants and increase, but there's just, as far as trying to think of different ways to collect the user fees, but there's just so much money you can get out of participants that go through our programs.
So the $14,673 additional, what is that specifically?
Disregard.
Okay.
Because it can't fund it. And
Okay.
after I was compensated, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we want to handle these as a
Disregard.
whole?
Okay,
or-
John asked me, I'm like, I
After I
don't
talked to
know.
you, I'm like, oh.
Okay.
Okay,
So then the question is, are we funding the increase in salary for community corrections? How does council want to move forward with that?
Are we addressing all these as a group, as a whole, or do you want them individually?
Well, I mean, I think this might be considered a separate issue, right? Because it's the only one that's going to be a little different, right?
Yeah, probably so.
So then I guess we could address this one separate and then the rest together. And currently, all those, I mean, it's all covered by grants, right?
And user fees.
And user fees.
Yep. Basically, what they did is, obviously, they funded the base salary, you know, and we've tried to, we've covered the growth as far as the benefits, but just in insurance, I think I'm trying to collect, is it maybe $20,000 a month just for, and that's all I use it for.
Moving forward, do you see the possibility of getting more on that grant money to
No,
take
I
care
don't.
of?
I don't. I think they're gonna try to, they will support new initiatives like free trial. We've got the base dollars from that, and they're gonna let us get it up and running, but they're gonna lift us for any program expansion we're gonna have to secure. So I don't think we're gonna go backwards in our funding, I just don't see any increase.
so as we look at the packet of additional appropriations, they are all accurate with the exception of the next to last page, which is community corrections.
Okay.
And what's the number that needs to go in there?
This is number, I don't know if you looked at the numbers I sent you.
I did.
So total fiscal impact, and this is just the adoption of the external midpoint plus the $1,200 increase for all community corrections full-time employees, plus FICA and PERV. I have it at I don't have my glasses, $99,609.03.
Well, I think keeping in the same mindset of what Chairman Banks has already brought up, the fact that we wanted to go with WIS and then be equal to everybody as far as the COLA, because our responsibility to fund this out of the general.
So this additional would come out of county general, the 99? We have sufficient funding to approve it?
I believe so.
Did the commissioners have an opinion on this?
George would have been the only one that probably received it, because he's on my board.
Because of the fact that they're granted money, I think it was just a mistake on that, some of that. The only thing that I could say is there is that jail tax that is, 20% of that is operational funding that could fund that.
So we could utilize the jail funding money for these additional
We're not saving
programs?
very much of that, are we? Safety tax.
I think we have an obligation to treat them as employees the same as any county employees, because they are. I would make a motion that we would fund it out of county general.
So I have a motion to fund the additional appropriation for community corrections from county general. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yes. Since the wrong number was advertised, can we fund this meeting, or do you have to do it next time?
I'll just go ahead and do it in February, that way I have all my numbers, or,
Okay.
because we're gonna have to do 1122 and 9310 for both of Paula's.
Okay, so I do have a motion and a second. Can we approve now and then advertise later?
Yeah, approve it, and then you'll just approve the additional appropriations separately.
Okay.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
Okay, so with that being said, any further discussion? I have a motion and a second to approve an additional appropriation to fund the salary increases for community correction from county general. And so I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same, and the motion passes. We'll be funding it.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
So then we need to address the rest of them.
Make a motion, we approve on the packet of the rest of the additional appropriations.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? The rest of them. So we handled community corrections separate, now we're going to tackle the rest of the packet in one lump sum. So I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. The motion passes. So we need to sign, and you pulled out the second to last one already? Okay. Okay, there's enough copies here. Okay, Brandon Forrester, you're up. Good morning.
I am here to request the encumbering of funds from the 2019 budget to the 2020 budget. I'll just start off with 1169, 4101 equipment. We talked about that back in August. I presented an equipment plan. We talked about utilizing the money in that fund to purchase 2 new single-axle dump trucks. And so I was asking for a verbal commitment to the budget for 2020 and to encumber those funds. And that's what I heard. And we've ordered those trucks and they're being built. So I guess that would be my first request. And the money is there. I mean, I just looked this morning, cash page, there's more than special funds.
That's the 41001?
Yes, 41001. Cash balance as of January 1st was $505,000. And that's, you know, we receive revenue every month for that.
So I have a request to encumber $236,587.22.
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of encumbering those funds, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same.
The next one I'll address is Fund 1135, Cume Bridge, 39,600, bridge replacement. Our bridges are inspected every 2 years. Every 2 years, we evaluate the results of the inspection, come up with a 5 to 10-year plan for rehabilitation and replacement. The next bridge on the list is Bridge 95. Because of new load rating requirements from the federal government, Federal Highway Administration, that bridge was posted for a weight limit. Yes, it was posted for a weight limit. It's a 5-span timber bridge over the Eel River that's had ongoing maintenance issues, and so we have actually begun, the design, the permits, we've begun clearing right away, and this week or next, they should begin that. But again, the large amount encumbered, this is the biggest, most expensive bridge that we've replaced since I've been here in 2001, because it's the bottom end of the Eel River. This replacement schedule has 6 Eel River bridges out of 12 in the next, including, it'd be 7-8 years. We have 13 total Eel River bridges, so that's why for those that were on a few years ago, the Encumbrance rate was increased because we were projecting out that we were going to need more money. So again, the money is there. The cash balance as of January 1st was 1.9 million. Reason being, we did not replace a second bridge in 2018. We were basically saving money so we could replace this bridge.
Make a motion to approve the request of $705,750 out of Fund 1135 for the bridge replacement.
I'll second.
Go ahead.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the encumbrance, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Brandon, do you anticipate this being the only bridge replaced this year?
Typically what we do, is we start a bridge sometime in the fall. It finishes either, sometime around the first of the year, we start another bridge that finishes in the spring. This bridge will not be done, they haven't started yet, so it's going to be several months before that one started. If we start another bridge, it wouldn't be until probably fall.
Okay. Thank you.
And that's going to partially too depend on how much money we have left in the budget and
what roles.
Right. So the third request is for sodium chloride, salt, the salt we put on our roads. The salt purchasing process is kind of taxing. I had to put my request in for this winter season prior to March 22nd of 2019. So even prior to the budget process, I had to commit to a tonnage of salt that we were going to purchase for this winter. Based on what the price was at the time, and what we had budgeted previously, we were looking at about 1,200 ton, which, is enough in theory, depending on the weather, for a season. Unfortunately, the price rose per ton from $70.82 to $86.45, which meant that I couldn't get the 1,200 ton. I could only get about 1,040 at that price with the money that's budgeted. So bottom line is I had $42.77.50 left in the 19 budget. I'm just asking to encumber it. That's another, maybe one more small storm that we can treat if it comes up. Ideally, we would start the season, we've got a new salt barn that we just put into service a little over a year ago. It'd be great if we could start the season with that barn full of salt. We're just not quite to that point yet. So, like I say, there was just a little bit of money left. I was just a little bit of help at this point.
That's $42.77.50.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the encumbrance, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And that motion passes as well.
Thank you very much.
Anything else?
Nothing for me. Answer any questions?
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Next up, Amy Biggs. Morning. Good morning.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and present my request for encumbrance. All of the costs, I have them all included on one sheet, and with the supporting detail that I provided to Gianna. All of the requested amounts, which I'll go through by line item, I'm requesting encumbrance for to outfit the vehicle that was recently purchased and picked up. As you know, I came before you earlier in the year to request an additional amount for the purchase of the vehicle, but GM was on strike at that time. So I didn't take possession of the vehicle until later in the year than what I had anticipated. Therefore, I was not able to get all the items completed for the outfitting of that vehicle under the 2019 budget. So what you have before you are line items specifically for equipment applications to outfit the 2019 vehicle. The first item that's listed there, equipment and product maintenance in the amount of $4,086.97, for which you have an invoice for covers rust protection, because we do anticipate keeping this vehicle for a number of years. It also includes fiberglass cap so that the back side of it can be enclosed for when we are carrying equipment that is sensitive to water and or outside climate. And then additional cargo slide, which will assist us with reducing injuries for type of salts and or absorbents that we carry. We'll be able to put those in the slide, not having to climb into the back of the truck. The second item listed there in the amount of $444 was side steps to be able to, again, safely get in and out of the vehicle. It is a 2500 series, so it is a bit taller than normal. Those were price match that we were able to get out of Jasper, Indiana, in the amount of $444. The next item is installation and equipment for lighting packages, which would be standard lighting of red and white, which is what we're authorized in the state of Indiana to use on the vehicle. There would be strobes in the headlights, the tail lights, as well as providing a directional stick in the back of the cap once that's installed. We'll have a lighting inside of that as well. It also includes the mounting brackets for the radios, which will be installed once they have the interior part. It'll be much simpler to do all of that at one point in time. And then the last item listed is in the amount of $6,220.63, again coming out of operating supplies budgets for what I had budgeted in 2019, which includes the radio costs for installation of both a 800 radio, a VHF radio, and the appropriate antennas and mic systems to operate that system. We did seek requests for quotes from various providers of the radio systems. I have two that are provided, one from ERS and one from J&K. My recommendation is to move forward with ERS, which is a Motorola product. Given the reception and some of the issues that we've had with our current system and supplies, that's a recommendation I'd like to request. Be happy to answer any questions you might have on this. Again, all of this was intended to be purchased with the budgetary amounts that I had in 2019, strictly just to carry over to fund those this year.
Amy, will this be on the road all the time?
Yes, sir, it will. This is going to be the primary vehicle that's used by emergency management due to the request that we have to be able to haul absorbent and other materials to the scene of incidents, as well as be able to pull the trailer, which would be a command vehicle.
And will the radios be able to communicate with dispatch both for the county and Columbia City?
Yes, they will, sir.
Thank you.
I move we approve the request.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of approving the request for encumbrance, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And the motion passes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Again, I'd like to extend an appreciation for those council members that were able to attend a few of our trainings that we had in 2019, and hopefully we'll see a few more in 2020. We'll have future opportunities for you to attend and provide feedback for threats and hazard assessments. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, I have Scott Wagner. Laura, are you here for Scott?
Yes, and I don't have all the fancy paperwork and my little note, this is what I'm supposed to say. He's requesting the money be encumbered to get the new truck that had been purchased with all of its stickers, its lights, and a cap to enclose the back, also for water-sensitive materials. And then there'll be a line item created for the rent of the building to store the trailer in.
And where's that at? The building?
All I have is
It's a
rent for the trailer.
storage, it's a storage unit here in Columbia City somewhere. We're not building a building or anything.
No.
Like a U-lock.
Yeah. Or you lock it, you know.
Jen, is it possible to create that line item outside of the budgetary cycle, or is that something that needs to be addressed at that point? Can you create that now without issue?
Yeah, it'd just be a transfer.
And the actual encumbrance is for the equipment on the truck? Or does that include the money that's going to be?
The truck has to have the stickers, the decals, the lights, for the pricing, he's pulled over to the side. That's what that's for, and the cab then so the equipment does not get damaged in the back from water.
But this money that's being encumbered is not going to pay the rent for this facility as well, this space, or?
I don't know whether he was splitting it, I just know at this time he also needed the line item.
So-
I think he was planning on using a little bit for both.
Okay.
And for things.
So do we have to approve anything about the storage unit, or do we just approve the encumbrance?
I'm just the encumbrance.
Make a motion to approve the encumbrance request out of Fund 1159 for $2,512.11.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And that passes 7-0.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay, next item on the agenda is Cindy Barnett. She's not able to make it, but we do have a letter from her that was provided this morning. It's a request for an encumbrance for $698.82. And that was for travel expenses that were incurred, but not yet been billed back to Purdue.
Make a motion that we approve the encumbrance for the amount of $698.82.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that one? I guess I just don't really fully understand it. So the Extension Office has paid these bills and they're waiting for reimbursement?
They're, I believe it's mileage that they haven't billed yet, and then Purdue has billed them, and now we're having, they didn't bill them until I think this year. So just wanting to encumber the 2019 funds, to use the 2019 funds to pay for 2019 mileage and 2020.
Okay. All right, I do have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And that also passes 7-0. Nathan Bilger.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nathan Bilger, Planning Director. The encumbrance request that you have from us is from professional services, which is typically used for providing for legal counsel services. Our commissioners last year had requested that we look into combining all of our legal counsel under one firm, and that was expected to have the contract written up and approved by the end of the year. As I understand it, that hasn't yet happened. It was due to be on the agenda at yesterday's council meeting, commissioner meeting, excuse me. And so this encumbrance would be to cover the difference of what we have budgeted for 2020 in anticipation of a rate increase, because we budgeted for the legal counsel that we currently use, and we would be looking to switch legal counsel in. So if you have any questions.
So you think the new one's going to cost this much more, or you just got?
It would come under that. I don't know exactly what the new contract rate would be.
But like everything else, the money's there, you just need an encumbrance over.
Yes, if that would be acceptable.
I'll make a motion, we encumbrance the 73-1610 for Fund 1000.
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same.
Thank you.
Nathan, before you go, for you gentlemen don't know, Nathan creates these calendars. That's an in-house calendar, and does a great job. Every department has them, right?
And if they don't, Ed and Jen both have additional posters to pick up.
Right, so if anybody wants one of the calendars, why, you can, but it's pretty cool. It's all Whitley County stuff on the pictures, and he does a great job. But
I'll give a shout out. The aerial image in the background was by Danny Tittman from a hot air balloon ride that she had gotten. I think it was her 40th anniversary, I think is what she said. On the left is a shot from our county treasurer, and the other two shots are myself, done by myself. All the views were selected by a small selection committee. And then along the bottom are some other entries as well from other employees too.
Well done. Next item, we're going to go ahead and skip to the encumbrance request from the commissioners.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm here because I got elected chairman yesterday, so.
Congratulations.
Or condolences, right? One of the things that we took care of yesterday, Brandon's still here, it was a river road ordinance. I think that's done to reduce weight on that road, right, Brandon? So we went ahead and approved that ordinance. Sheriff Gatton was here, we talked about the new dispatch. We okayed a small secondary plat for the planning department. Becky Salway was here from Council on Aging. That was just kind of a bookkeeping thing on the two vehicles that they've got coming. Brandon gave us a highway department update, and then we were told about the landfill. The landfill that's been closed for 100 years, but as much as we hate to, we have to keep putting money into it, because that's what IDM says. IDM comes along and checks it, and so we approved the cost estimate for the year of $10,000 for SES. We'd rather have a professional outfit take care of that, so. We made our appointments and our assignments, and really there's no change to that, so that's about all I have to report, really.
And then there is also a request for an encumbrance from the commissioners.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so, back in December, you guys approved the additional appropriation for the commissioner's budget for the annex because Mark Sturman's doing all the renovations for child services. And he did not end up getting everything done, obviously, by the end of the year. So in order to avoid doing another additional appropriation, they're encumbering the building maintenance that you guys approved in December. That rolled over into 2020.
That's a 131,401.76. I make a motion we approve the encumber.
Have we started collecting our rent on that yet?
No, still waiting for child services. I think there's something on their end that they had to finish. We do receive rent. There's like $2,800 that we received before, but yeah, it will definitely go up significantly. But I can't think of it yet right now. But I'm in contact with someone there, and they're supposed to be doing something on their end. Increase, and it will make up the difference. They'll backtrack. They will backtrack and give us the money that they owed us last.
So we don't have to put them out on the street.
No, but is it last September?
Put new locks on the
that it
doors.
started?
That's second.
So yeah, they'll give us that back. So.
All right, Bill seconded the motion, so I do have a motion and a second. One question that I do have is, this encumbrance amount, it's earmarked for one project? I mean, it's just dedicated, the encumbrance is dedicated to the project at the annex.
Yes.
For the annex.
And we had to do it in county general because that's where the money gets received into when we receive it from child services.
Okay.
So that's what it's like.
And if it's not all spent in the annex, it just remains in this fund line item for other maintenance? Thank you.
So sort of along that line, if you haven't been notified, the DCS does have an open house planned this Thursday. I don't have the times down, so I'm sorry. It was Thursday afternoon though, I think, so.
Okay, I do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same, and that did pass 7-0. So moving back, the next item on my agenda is the appointments for board appointments and assignments. And I think we do have a list of who's currently, I have it somewhere, thank you. So I'll start by saying that personally, I don't have any desire to change my appointments for boards this year. I don't know if anybody else has any desire to be on a board or to not be on a board any longer. So we can go through this line by line, or we can just discuss the ones that we would like to see a change. I do know that I have spoken to Chad Nix. He's our appointment to the Regional Sewer District. He's content, he's satisfied on that board. So I don't really have any desire to change that at this time.
I'm comfortable with where I'm at, and I would like to continue and commission the solid waste. And I would also add that I have had contact or conversation with Trey Inslee, and he's happy and more than welcome to stay on in the Alcoholic Beverage Commission role that we've appointed him to there also.
Comfortable to stay on the EMS Oversight Committee, the Joint Advisory Board, and the Redevelopment Commission.
I'm good where I'm at.
I'm very satisfied to stay with Community Corrections and the Senior Citizen Center. I don't know if it's an assignment or not, but I have also been serving on the pretrial services program.
I have no problem with mine. I have a question though about what is the EDC commission?
What is it?
Yeah, the commission.
Oh, the EDC Commission. I don't know. I'm sorry, Bill. Redevelopment Commission, how's that?
Is it gonna redevelop?
Yeah, Ben.
Yeah, it's a redevelopment commission.
And I'm,
There's no EDC.
well, I wondered, I saw it on there and I'm trying to figure out what that was. Okay, I have no.
Yes.
Okay.
Especially since you're on that, right? You wonder what it was, since they got your name
Well, I'm
underneath
on the
it?
EDC board.
Oh, I see. I got you.
I'm also comfortable with the LEPC and the pretrial services program.
Yeah. So Jan is saying the EDC commission meets rarely. I do know John's he's still pretty involved with the
Yeah, he
EDC
is.
board, right?
I know what
And-
he does, but
Yeah, I think he also sits in on the regional economic development
yeah,
commission
he's on
meetings.
yeah, he is.
Yeah,
And then he reports, he's on the EDC board and he reports back to the EDC.
right,
board.
because he's at the monthly meetings
Yeah.
for Whitley Economic Development Corporation and reports back what's happening in the region, so I do know he's very involved, he does a great job.
Yeah, I just don't know what EDC board is.
Yeah, right. So, one last chance, I don't see any reason to make any changes unless anybody would really like to make any changes.
Need a motion to approve the council board committee assignments and appointments as written. I'll make that motion.
All right, I do have a
I'll
motion.
second that.
And a second. Any further discussion? So all those in favor of approving the board committee assignments and appointments, please signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same, and that passes, no changes. And the next item on the agenda, I do have 2 sets of minutes. We had our meeting minutes from December 3rd. Has everyone had a chance to review those? I did notice just one small, let me find that again. Right here in the matter of the salary ordinance, just missing that. So it says passed with a 70 vote instead of a 7-0.
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve the December meeting minutes for the regular stated meeting, the December 3rd. Have a motion to approve.
I second the
And a
motion if in
second.
fact it includes that minor correction.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor, signify by raising your right hand. Opposed, the same. And then we also do have some minutes from our special meeting that we held toward the end of December. That's the minute entry resolution for Whitley County Council for that lease agreement. Has everyone had a chance to review? I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Opposed, the same. With one abstention. Bill? Okay. So, do we need to sign this one? And this, so all 3. That's all I have on the agenda. Is there anything anyone would like to add? Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding, so I can translate it back to Jamie. Meaning, the 29th, elected officials, 2019 Just so I understand, within the elected officials, 2019 salary, adding the 1,200 across the board, that was given for cost of living to that, and then taking 35% of that for the chief deputy salary, and then adding the 1,200 to there, to that. Is that correct?
That's the way I understood it, yeah.
Okay, all right, just want to make sure I understood it right. Thank you.
Thank you.
At your next meeting on February the 4th, I feel confident that Councilman Barrett will be on the golf course that day, just so you know.
Good to know.
And every other day. Till he comes back.
Councilman Barrett, do you have anything to add?
No, as John said, I will be absent in the February meeting on it. I just want to add that I am in favor of the additional car money and new dispatcher position once it gets advertised and comes up for a vote. And that's dealing with 9/11.
All right, Councilman, over to you. Anything to add? Councilman Comfer?
Actually, I have a couple of things. First, I want to ensure Councilman Barrett that I will ask the question if there are any opportunities if someone has a veteran-friendly hiring policy. Secondly, Thor and I were able to attend a meeting at the Community Foundation that was descriptive of the effort that the foundation is doing to coordinate between government, private industry, and also nonprofits in our community in this effort to reduce recidivism and the efforts that we have been working together on for training and mental health and all these issues. And I would just like to commend our community for working together so effectively.
That's great. Councilman Warner?
Have nothing.
Councilman Hodges?
Nothing.
Vice Chair Wheeler?
Nothing.
And I have nothing to add. So with that, we'll conclude our meeting.
I'm glad we switched around. I got tired of sitting by Wheeler.